What if the only way out of prison is to never leave at all? I've seen things in my life before. Accidents, people going insane. But nothing prepared me for what happened that night. My name is David. I worked as a correctional officer at Riverside Penitentiary for 3 years. I thought I understood the rules. I was wrong. It was my second month working the night shift as a supervisor. A promotion, I thought. More responsibility, more money. They assigned me to Wing C, the building everyone avoided. The director told me it was a quiet section, older inmates, docile prisoners. No problem, he'd said, looking away. It was a lie. The first week went smoothly, no fights, no incidents, just the usual silence of prison nights. But I noticed something strange. The other guards avoided me. When I passed them at the station, they looked at me in a weird way, like they knew something I didn't. One morning before leaving, I asked Marcus, the veteran who'd worked there for 15 years, why nobody wanted to work Wing C at night. He hesitated, really hesitated. Then he told me, "Stories, man, just stories. The guys talk about weird stuff, noises, people disappearing from cells. But it's all bullshit, forget about it." But he was afraid. I could see the fear in his eyes. The second week, during midnight rounds, I crossed paths with one of the inmates loitering near the stairs. A guy I'd never seen before. Tall, really tall. Long, filthy hair covering half his face. He wore the orange prison uniform, but something didn't fit. He dragged his feet like he hadn't walked in years, like he'd forgotten how his body was supposed to work. I asked him his name. No response. I asked again, louder this time. "Hey, can you hear me? What's your cell number?" Nothing. He just continued down the stairs without even looking at me, like I didn't exist. I felt something cold in my stomach, a sensation I'd never felt before. I watched him with my eyes until he reached the bottom. He headed toward the common bathrooms. I figured he was going to use the toilet. Simple, nothing suspicious. But why was my heart beating so fast? I waited a few minutes. Then I walked to the bathrooms. I pushed the door open. Empty. Completely empty. No sound of water, no one there. I crouched down to check every stall. All 3 doors were open. Nothing. Nobody. My heart started racing. My breathing accelerated with it. I ran back to the hallway. Maybe he'd already come back up. Maybe I'd passed him. But when I checked the stairs, there was nothing. The corridor was completely deserted. That's when I heard something. A whisper, right next to my ear, a voice saying my name. "David! David!" I spun around violently. Nobody. Just the emptiness. The white prison walls, the fluorescent lights humming, the sound of silence. I went directly to Marcus. I told him everything that had just happened, how I'd seen this guy, how he'd disappeared, how I'd heard my name being called. Marcus went pale, literally. The color drained from his face. He stared at me for a long time without saying anything. Then he asked, "What did he look like? Describe him to me." I described the guy. Tall, long hair, dragging his feet, looking down, everything. Marcus sank into his chair. "Oh man," he muttered. "Oh man. You saw Victor Castellano." "Who?" "Victor Castellano. We called him Bonebreaker. That guy was a psychopath. He broke things, he broke people. He'd injured 4 inmates in 1 year, for no reason. He just liked causing pain. We kept him in solitary confinement constantly, but it didn't help. He'd bang on the walls. He'd scream at night. He said he heard voices. He said the prison was talking to him." "Where is he now?" I asked, even though I already knew the answer. "Dead," Marcus said. 7 years ago. He hung himself in his cell 12 Wing C. He ripped his blanket into strips, tied them together, and hanged himself from the window. The guards found him in the morning. Hanging there, swaying gently, he'd left a note, just 3 words. "I can't leave." My blood had frozen in my veins. "What about the others? What do you mean by the other stories?" Marcus took a deep breath. "There have been 5 deaths in Wing C in 7 years, all in solitary, all suicides. And before that, there were others. We don't know how many. The records are fuzzy. The management doesn't want to talk about it, but us guards, we know. There's something happening there, something in the walls." "Do you believe in ghosts?" I asked, knowing how stupid the question sounded. "I believe in what I've seen. Marcus replied. And I've seen a guy disappear right in front of my eyes 3 years ago. An inmate. He was there, then he wasn't. Just like that. And I've heard noises. Strange noises, footsteps, voices everywhere. I tried to explain it rationally. Maybe Victor was still alive. Maybe the files had an error. Maybe what I'd seen was my imagination. Fatigue. Work stress. But deep down, I knew it was a lie. Over the next 3 weeks, I began researching. I consulted the files. I requested archives. What I found made my blood run cold. Victor Castellano, deceased July 15, 2017, Wing C, Cell 12. Cause suicide by asphyxiation. James Patterson, deceased November 3, 2018, Wing C, Cell 12. Cause suicide by asphyxiation. Michael Torres, deceased May 22, 2020, Wing C, Cell 12. Cause suicide by asphyxiation. Robert Chen, deceased September 9, 2021, Wing C, Cell 12. Cause suicide by asphyxiation. Anthony Russo, deceased February 14, 2023, Wing C, Cell 12. Cause suicide by asphyxiation. 5 people. Same cell, same method, exactly 7 years apart. And then something that really scared me. In the margins of the archived files, someone had written, over and over next to each name, reports seeing him, reports hearing him at night, reports feeling a presence. Those notes weren't signed. I didn't know who'd written them. That night during my usual rounds, I walked to cell 12. I unlocked the door. I shouldn't have. But I needed to see. The cell was empty. Of course it was empty. Officially, nobody lived there. But when I pushed the door open, I felt something. A presence. It was freezing. Abnormally freezing. The air itself seemed to breathe with me. And I heard something. A faint sound. Like a whisper. Several whispers, actually. Voices speaking at the same time. I couldn't make out the words, but they were clearly human voices. They were saying, "Stay, stay, stay with us, please, stay." I slammed the door so hard the walls trembled. I ran from the cell. My heart was pounding against my ribs like it was trying to escape my body. My hands were shaking so badly I couldn't hold my keys properly. I spent the rest of the night running through the corridors. I called Marcus. No answer. I called the night supervisor. No answer. I was alone, completely alone in a building full of voices. At dawn, when the day shift arrived, I left my post. I said I was sick. I said I had to leave. I didn't wait for the end of my shift. I just left. I quit the building and never came back. Since that night, I've suffered from terrible sleep problems. I have nightmares. And sometimes very late at night when everything is quiet, I hear something. A distant whisper, a voice calling my name. "David, David, why won't you come back? You abandoned us. Stay with us. Please stay." I know now what Victor and the other 4 figured out too late. The walls of that prison were never meant to let them go, not alive. And now that they're dead, they can't leave at all. Somewhere in Wing C, they're waiting. In Cell 12, they're waiting for someone else to arrive. Someone else who will hear the call. Someone else who will enter and never be able to leave. And sometimes late at night, I wonder if I really left that place, or if I'm still there, walking those endless corridors, waiting for my turn.